दोनों साइड को फंक्शन करना।
Aggressive, there was restriction of extraocular movements. We did a CT scan and found a large infiltrative, poorly circumscribed mass which was involving the orbit and the maxillary sinus, and there was evidence of multiple foci of calcification. We suspected a malignancy based on the clinical and the imaging findings, and we did an incisional biopsy.
Now the biopsy which we received in our lab, histopath examination of this specimen revealed a malignant round cell tumor. As you can see, this is the low bar picture where you can see these dense blue cells, areas of hemorrhages, and this is the high bar picture where you can see these small round cells with minimal cytoplasm. They have a lot of mitotic figures. So we resorted all round cell tumors look the same. We have to resort to immunohistochemistry in order to confirm our diagnosis. So we did a panel of immunohistochemical stains like NSC, Desmin to rule out rhabdomyosarcoma, MPO to rule out chloroma, and these were all negative. CD99, however, was positive. Here is the CD99 stain. This was positive in the tumor cells. But along with that, CD99, once it's positive, you can see that positivity in both E-wings as well as PNET. So to differentiate between the two, you have to do a PAR stain, which was negative in this particular case. So this was a primitive pleuroectodermal tumor or PNET. Orbital PNETs are very rare, and they have a lesser propensity for metastasis as compared to the other PNETs in other locations. However, long-term aggressiveness, we really don't know much. And imaging findings already, Dr. Bhavna has already discussed about the imaging findings.
Okay, so now we come to case 2. Case 2 was a 15-year-old female who presented with painful proptosis of the left eye since just 3 months. She had sudden loss of vision for last 15 days. On clinical examination, there was restriction of extraocular movements in all the quadrants. There was severe exposure keratopathy due to proptosis, conjunctival chemosis was there. Her systemic examination was within normal limits. On imaging, an MRI showed a left intraorbital mass. There was scalloping and erosion of the orbital roof. So on the basis of clinical and imaging, we were suspecting a round cell tumor.
Initially, this patient was referred to us for FNAC since it was a palpable mass, and on FNAC, this was a GIMSA stain. We saw these large round to oval cells with abundant cytoplasm and eccentric nucleus. So these are plasmacytoid cells. We did not get any further clue. There was no other differentiation in this particular tumor, so we could not provide any definitive diagnosis. So the surgeons went ahead with the excision biopsy, and this is the cut section of the mass. As you can see, it is a grey-white firm mass, and we got the histopathology, which was very surprising. We had this numerous giant cells, as you can see, multinucleate giant cells filled with many nuclei, and here you can see this pink material, which was the osteoid, and this was the fibrous stroma in between. Next slide. Here again you can see this pink material, which is diagnostic of this particular tumor, and this is the undecalcified bone calcification which was present at certain areas. And here on high par, again you can see these giant cells over here. But what was diagnostic about this lesion was the pink material, the osteoid, which gives away the diagnosis. And although there was very little pleomorphism, not many mitotic figures, but depending on this pink material, we gave a diagnosis of osteosarcoma, extraskeletal osteosarcoma of the orbit, which is again very rare in the orbit. It's uncommon. Usually they arise in the long bones. Aggressive, they're highly aggressive with a high metastatic potential. And as we all know, it's reported in infants which are radiated for retinoblastoma. Otherwise, they are very uncommon. And there's only one isolated case report in a 22-year-old male.
Okay, so case 3, was a 66-year-old male who presented to us with bilateral proptosis, right more than left. This was non-axial, painless and progressive for 3 years. The visual acuity was 1/60 in the right eye and 6/60 in the left eye, which was explained by mature senile cataract in both eyes. There was no cervical lymphadenopathy. Systemic examination was unremarkable. So a true cut biopsy had been done outside before the patient came to us. That was 2 years ago, and it was reported as an inflammatory pseudotumor. The patient had had a history of oral steroids for 1 year. He had shown a partial response, but then it relapsed again. Steroids were discontinued and the patient was referred to RP center. So on imaging, you can see how both the orbits are occupied by intraorbital masses, both sides, and apart from the orbits, imaging in other areas showed retroperitoneal soft tissue masses as well. So we did a biopsy in this case.
Now, in this patient, as was told earlier, that this was diagnosed as an inflammatory pseudotumor. Now, you can understand why. Actually, there were some areas in this particular biopsy which showed these lymphoid aggregates, and the rest of the tumor showed these infiltrative, the fibrous tissue. In the background, there were these inflammatory cells, and this is a low power picture, so you cannot appreciate the macrophages, but in the high power, you can see there were a lot of histiocytes. All these are histiocytes in the background of inflammatory cells. Now, it's very difficult. You have to resort to immunohistochemistry to get to a particular diagnosis. Inflammatory pseudotumor as such cannot be diagnosed on this case. Now, we did resort to immunohistochemistry. The IHC stains CD68 was positive in this particular case, but CD1A and S100 were negative. So this was a non-Langerhans cell histiocytosis. Since CD1A and S100 is negative, it was already shown one Langerhans cell histiocytosis where you have CD1A and S100 negative. Since these two stains were negative in our particular case with only CD68 positive, with the radiological details also typical of this particular case, along with the histopathology, this was diagnosed as an Ardem-Chester disease, which is pretty rare, and this has been published in 2012.
Okay, so case 4 was a 45-year-old male who had pain in the right infraorbital region and proptosis for 1 year. He presented with a globular mass that was 2.5 into 4.5 centimeters, rising in the inferior fornix. It was firm to hard-on palpation. A CT scan was done which showed a large retrobulbar soft tissue mass with dense calcification. Bone was normal.
This particular case, the entire tumor could not be removed because of the vascularity. So whatever the mass was, this is the mass which was sent to us, a grey-white firm mass. And the histopathology showed two different types of cells. One was these undifferentiated cells, and the other was this cartilage which was present. So based on these two different types of cells, the cartilaginous cells and the undifferentiated malignant cells, this was diagnosed as a mesenchymal chondrosarcoma extraskeletal, which is again very rare in the orbit, which is highly malignant, extremely rare as I told you, and usually it affects young females, and it has a very poor prognosis. They metastasize to the lung. This again has been published in 2001 in Orbit.
So now we come to case 5. This was a 40-year-old female patient who presented with a proptosis of 1 year duration but rapid progression since 4 months. There was a large mass below the right eye. The eyeball had been pushed anteriorly and superiorly. On ultrasound, an ill-defined mass with high internal reflectivity was noted. A contrast-enhanced CT scan, as you can see in the picture here, showed extracorneal inframedial mass with cystic spaces and fat.
This is the mass that we got in the laboratory. As you can see, it has a glistening appearance. It's a huge mass, 6 by 3 centimeters, which was sent from the lower lid. And microscopy actually revealed there were both cellular, less cellular areas, paucicellular, as well as highly cellular areas. Now these are one of the paucicellular areas. They show a myxoid background in which there are these spindle to stellate cells were present, and there was a lot of vascularity. You can see these vascular channels, And on high pi you can appreciate there were these typical lipoblasts which were present in the tumor, which gives away the diagnosis of a liposarcoma. Now we also had some cellular areas, and S100 stain was negative. So together with the lipoblasts and S100 positivity, this was a myxoid liposarcoma.
Coming to case 6 now. This was a 7-year-old girl who had history of a mass involving the right orbit. Surprisingly, it was noted at birth itself, but medical attention was sought very late. There was progressive increase in the size of the mass, and no eyeball was noted clinically. On CT scan, again, it showed a large mass with both solid and cystic components involving the right orbit. There was expansion of the bony orbit with significant bone remodeling, and as you can see very interestingly in this picture over here, an ectopic tooth was noted. There was no intracranial extension. A lid sparing excitation surgery was done in this case.
Now this is the mass that we received, the entire mass. Bhavna, next. Yeah, so this on histopathology showed all the elements of all the 3 germ layers. We had these squamous epithelial lined tissue with hair follicles. Then we had this colonic epithelium which was present. We also had this bone with marrow elements and the fat tissue. Here the cartilaginous elements, again the bone and the adipose tissue were present. So all the 3 elements of the germ layers was present in this particular case. So this was but there were no malignant cells. So this was a benign teratoma, which are again very rare tumors that are derived from the totipotent cells. They commonly found in the testes and the ovaries if they are derived from the germ cells. Or in the body midline if derived from the embryonal cells. This is in the orbit, it is a very rare entity. This is again published in Orbit.
So now we come to the last case of this session. This was an 11-year-old girl who had history of blunt trauma 4 months back. She developed swelling around the right orbit. Her visual acuity was 6/6. The extraocular movements were within normal limits. We did a CT scan which showed a mass involving the lateral right orbit. It was suggestive of dermoid on imaging, and we did an orbitotomy with removal of the orbital mass.
Again, this histopathology of this particular case was totally unusual. What we got was this lesion was very cellular with numerous giant cells. As you can see throughout the lesion, there were numerous giant cells with areas of hemorrhages and this osseous metaplasia. So this was a giant cell reparative granuloma, again a very rare lesion in the orbit. This is again reported in OPRS. Very rare, extremely rare orbital neoplasm with only 9 cases which were previously reported. So you have to distinguish this from ABC, aneurysmal bone cyst. There you have the giant cells which are lining the vascular channels. Here they were just distributed throughout the stromal elements. So that is the difference between the two. So you have to differentiate these lesions. Again, a very rare lesion. We just presented all the rare lesions from our center.